In this video, we're going to go over why we use floss bands, when to use floss bands, and how to use floss bands. So the floss bands are no magic. The reason why we use them is because they are just a very affordable, simple, and quite frankly, a very potent way to alleviate the symptoms of pain. The main way that tendons and ligaments recover is number one, through blood flow. So it is a very easy way to add some compression, to add some blood flow to those areas. The second reason why we use them is because it's going to provide alleviation while we load the tissue. So the second thing that tendons and ligaments need to heal and get stronger and recover is load. However, if we load in such a way that causes pain, our brain is always going to associate and sense pain with that range of motion or that movement. And so we need to be able to work within a range that does not aggravate pain to a level that regresses us. And so the floss band is a way to essentially lower that sensation of pain so that we can work within that range of motion again without pain so that the body feels comfortable with it again. And so when do we utilize this? Well, the first way that we can utilize this is right after a traumatic injury, like an ankle sprain or something like that, where you would replace this with replace ice with this. And so ice is a method that is very outdated. Even the guy that created the rice method completely recanted his statements because it delays the healing process. Now, there are times where you can ice and heat and things like that, especially if it's just if it's so painful after an injury, ice and heat, alternating those two might be helpful. But as quickly as humanly possible, you want to get to compression because the blood is going to be rushing to that area, which is important. Inflammation is really important after an injury. And so the blood is going to be rushing there to fix that area, but it's going to kind of be clumped up there. It's going to be pooling. So it's not just blood that we need to the area, it's circulating blood because the blood is carrying oxygen, it's carrying nutrients to that area to heal that place. And so the more we get the blood moving, the better. That's why motion is lotion, movement is improvement. But moving pain-free is an A++ way of, promoting recovery. And so if we can move pain-free, that's absolutely fantastic. And so this provides just a level of compression and getting the blood flow moving without, while you're just sitting there watching TV and the blood is moving. And so you would utilize this when? Well, after an injury, you would do this as often as you would theoretically ice it. So the general recommendation of icing is every 10 to 15 minutes, you put it on there for, 5 to 10 minutes. And so right away, you would just replace it with this. So instead of icing, you would use this every 10 to 15 minutes, just put it on there and provide some compression for about 5 to 10 minutes into whatever is tolerable. The second way that we can utilize the floss band and when to utilize the floss band is going to be before training and after training or during training. So before training, it's helpful more so as kind of a preventative mechanism and also as a way to alleviate before you get into maybe some more intense ranges of motion that may have previously aggravated certain areas. And so you can use this on really any joint of the body. You can use it on your foot, your ankle, your knee, around your hamstring, quad area, your hip, your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder, no torso, and no neck. So before your training, you can use this in such a way that just provides blood flow there before your training. If there's a certain movement that's irritating or, as a warm-up, maybe something is just a little bit cantankerous in some senses where you just start to feel a little bit of nagging of a pain, you can put these on there and you'll find that after the course of maybe 2 or 3 sets, they really help. You can also use them during training. And so if you're going through a set and the whole entire set is just really, really painful, let's say you have an overuse issue like tendonitis or something, and it's just really irritating. You can't find this level where you can, progress pain-free or regress to a level that's just not doing anything. And so you're kind of stuck within this middle level of like, well, I want to do something that actually loads the tissue, but if I regress completely, it's not really loading anything. You can use these. And there's a couple ways you can use them. I mean, you can utilize them, in rotation, or you can utilize them in flexion. So rotation would be something more along the ankle where you're kind of doing this. You can also use them in flexion and extension, and around the knee, just using flexion extension, some rotation. So anyways, you can use them during a training session, for squats or around your ankles for ankle raises, things like that. If you have, specific tendinopathies that you're trying to overcome, just to alleviate those areas. The last thing is you can also use it after training. Just this is more, like I said, of a preventative mechanism. Like, after you play basketball or something, you can put them around your ankles just to get the blood flow there rather than just sitting there letting the blood pool. You can just, get the blood flow to your areas because, after a spout of movement through, pickleball or something, you can slap it on your elbow or your shoulder just as a way to just get that blood flow there and make sure that that the blood is getting to those areas that need it, because tendons need blood flow, but they're not really naturally like the body doesn't really naturally supply them very well with blood, which is strange. So you kind of have to help it out, which is why moving is really important. So that's when to use it. Now, how to use it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can utilize it. So you can use a couple of them, or you can just use one. I personally like to use one. It's just more convenient. And like I said, you can use it with any joint of the body. So what we want to do is we want to, first of all, utilize it in such a way where there's no load, there's no resistance. It's literally just providing compression, and that would be in the scenarios where you are just recovering from an injury, where maybe you're just using it as preventative after your workout or even before you play basketball or something, just to provide compression there, just before you do an activity or something like that, because there's going to be no resistance. And so you're just literally just going to put it on and not really move, just essentially just chill out in while it's on. And so the way that you do it is, let's say that we're going to utilize it for the ankle. So you'd go about 50 to 70 to 80% stretch. So you're not like fully stretching it. And we're going to go all the way around the joint. So you're going to get good at this, and you have to get good at this because it's very important. And this is how I like to do the ankle. Some people like to do the ankle a little bit different. Sometimes people do the top of the ankle, or only the top of the ankle. I like to do a little bit of both. So you really just want most of the tension. Like if you are going to really focus on just the compression aspect, you really want all the tension to be on whatever area is aggravating. So if your foot is, if you're having foot problems, plantar fasciitis, just wrap it, around the foot or around the, heel area or the bottom of the foot area, wherever there's like a lot of tension, that's where you want, the majority of the wrapping to be. So once you've wrapped it enough, you just kind of tuck in that side, and then lo and behold, this is your compression, just chill out with this 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Don't leave this on for like 30 minutes. Don't be stupid. We don't want you to die because your blood flow is like cut off for so long, or your foot like falls off because it's just been on there for like, 10 days or something. So that's how you do the ankle, but it basically applies to pretty much any other joint of the body. And so that's the first step, is you can utilize it with just as compression. The second thing you can do, and also you have to learn how to roll it up, because I've learned over the course of the years that it's 10 times easier to put it on after you've rolled it up. And so I'll show you just really quickly the second way that you can do it. So the second way that you can do it is you can do it under some load. And so let's say we're doing the knee. So let's say that top of the knee is really problematic here. So we do the top of the knee. And let's say bottom of the knee is also problematic. So we can do top of the knee here. And if you really want, we can go here. For me, my meniscus tear was really strange. It was only the bottom of the knee that needed wrapping. The top of the knee was totally fine. But anyways, there's, you're just going to wrap both. And so now you have this here, and this is there. So again, you can just leave this on while you're watching TV or something. That's it. But once you get to a point where you can start to add some load, this is, where you get into the point where you are trying to figure out that level. Maybe you're doing on your elbow and you're doing some Scott curls or something, trying to get rid of some elbow tendonitis, or your shoulder, doing some, rotations or something like that, or just kind of moving around. This is going to provide a baseline level of resistance already. So just doing movements like this, there's going to be a little bit of resistance there. So that's the first, progression. Second progression is going to be something like a lunge or a squat, where you're just working in here. Might be a little bit uncomfortable. One thing that's great about these is it also helps you break up some scar tissue, like if you had some past injuries or something, and it's going to do it in a pain-free way. Scar tissue is extremely painful to break up, and so if you do that in a way that really hurts, then your body's always going to be in pain. So again, it's not just a body problem, it's a brain problem. So doing this with a little bit of resistance, a little bit of load, it's kind of working out, just listening to your body. You don't want to like go too hard, but you'll find that after a couple minutes, and I would do this with every set, and this it sounds like a lot, but again, you're going to get good at putting them on and taking them off. But for example, with my meniscus tear, every single set was super painful if I didn't use the floss bands, and so that's fine. I took it off every single set, put it back on. Between rest periods, took it off, and then rinse and repeat. It's okay. You just got to be diligent with doing it. But then over time, the goal is to wean yourself off these. The goal is to be able to utilize these range of motions and be completely pain-free and not have to use the floss bands. But they should always be there just in case, because you never know. The body is so weird and the body is so strange. But that is how you utilize floss bands. One quick tip with the elbow is, if you're going to wrap the elbow, grab it by the hand first, wrap once around the hand if you don't have a partner, and then you wrap around the elbow. Same with the shoulder. Because it's just really, really difficult if you don't have a partner to get, some of those areas that are just one-sided like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Don't put it on your neck. Bada bing, bada boom.